Greetings viewers, Ian here from 1998 Monroe NY Colonial. On today's topic I want to cover a little more on why I really like Korean and Japanese people more than I do with the Chinese. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'll have a link in the description to that video. Continuing on with the topic, I remember seeing some old baby pictures of me from almost 25 years ago. For those of you very familiar with me, I previously lived in Monroe-Woodbury before I moved to Wappingers, where I currently live, here in the Hudson Valley, New York region. And before I moved to Monroe-Woodbury, I previously lived somewhere in Fort Lee, New Jersey, within Bergen County, in the northern part of the state, outside of New York City. I lived in Fort Lee from about circa 1996 to 1998, when I was just a newborn. Back in those days, I lived in a very Asian populated city. There are a lot of Korean and some Japanese people who've lived in Fort Lee and parts of Bergen County. Even though I'm Chinese, my parents could have lived in Chinatown, New York City, but chose not to, so we chose to live in Fort Lee. I remember looking back at old pictures from about almost 25 years ago, and I saw a few baby pictures when I used to spend time with this baby Korean girl, Hannah, who wasn't born too far apart from me back in 1996. I only spent a brief amount of time with Hannah and have not reconnected with her or her parents since we were newborns. Yet Hannah's parents were very kind people from what my dad told me, and based on that, this is one of the reasons why Koreans are very friendly people, and a lot friendlier than the Chinese. Like I said, I do not know where Hannah is today and have never kept in touch, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's living a happy life somewhere. Even though I never reconnected with Hannah, there are plenty of friendly Korean people like her and her family. Plus, over the years, I've met various Korean people who I was somewhat able to make friends with, and they have much happier lives than the Chinese. My parents could have lived in Chinatown, New York City, but they chose not to. If you look at Chinatown, it's very dirty, messy, and disgusting. Those people are not clean, and they don't care, unlike the Koreans. Even Japanese people are fairly clean and more organized like the Koreans are, which is why I really like those people more, and why I lived in such a good neighborhood a long time ago. Excuse me. After shortly living in Fort Lee, New Jersey, I then lived in Monroe-Woodbury from 1998 to 2012. Then from 2012 to the present day, I still live in Wappingers Falls. Although from 2012 to 2017, I still visited my previous home in Monroe, back when my dad still lived there. If any of you weren't aware, my dad and I no longer live in Monroe, and he currently lives in eastern Pennsylvania between the Hudson Valley and Pocono regions. If any of you are ever curious about my username 1998 Monroe NY Colonial, which I use for this account in one of my Instagrams, it's named for the house I grew up and lived in back in Monroe, New York. I just loved the house and the entire neighborhood so much that I created this username for myself. Going back to the topic, I remember in my last video I talked about better manufacturing practices in Japan and Korea. We talked about cars and a little bit about fans, and I want to go over more about fans, ever since collecting vintage fans from the past. I remember back when I used to visit my mom's parents in the New Territories, Hong Kong region. My grandma and grandpa once had a few 1980s Matsushita Mitsubishi branded oscillating wall fans. They used to have several 12-inch blue Matsushitas and one yellow 16-inch Matsushita. Those fans are very well made and were made in Japan back in the 1970s and 1980s. They are of high quality, just like the old Lasco Sanyos, including the Sanyo motors they use for several of my other older Lasco fans that I have in my collection. Unfortunately, those Japanese-made Matsushita fans my grandparents once had been thrown out. They were never cleaned or maintained, just like how myself and certain fan collectors here on YouTube do that. For about 20 to 30 years of having no cleaning or maintenance done, they all eventually had burned out motors, and they had severe rust buildup on some of the metal parts from years of being exposed to dust and humidity. But if you think of it, those fans lasted a long time nonetheless, and despite no maintenance, those fans outlasted all the newer fans made in China. This just shows how Japanese-made products of fans or anything will outlast all Chinese products. All the newer fans made in China, no matter how good you keep them maintained, they won't last. If it wasn't for my grandparents letting those Japanese fans go a long time never getting cleaned or maintained, they will last another 20 or 30 more years, maybe even more. I mentioned that I have a few Lasco fans with Sanyo motors, just like Pat's from YouTube user Who Is This Guy 724, who has a few Air King Lasco fans with Sanyo motors. I even remember when I attended the Monroe-Woodbury Middle School a long time ago, where they had Lasco fans with the same motors as the ones that Pat and I have. The middle school used to have the 1990s models of the 16-inch Lasco pedestal fans. Those are the model 2116 or 2116. It's also similar to Jordan Yu and Tori the Fan Man's Lasco 2016 desk fans. I'll have the links to those videos below. Throughout the years I attended Monroe-Woodbury Middle School, those fans have held up after 10 to 15 years. This just shows you how even the Lasco-made fans and ones made here in the US hold up for many years of use. And same story, those Lasco fans I've seen have virtually never had any cleaning or maintenance done to them. So this just shows the quality of older fans compared to the newer ones made in China. That'll wrap up this video. For other topics on why I really like Japanese and Korean people and those cultures. If you enjoyed this video, you can comment, rate, and subscribe. If you wish to connect with me socially, you can find me on Instagram, or you can send me an email, and I'll have all the details in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and take care. I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out.